Welcome to r/Prorevenge, where Karen refuses to control her dogs and gets her car towed. Can't follow the rules at the dog park? Okay, let's see how you like getting your car towed. I like to visit my local dog park with two of my dogs. We have a great neighborly relationship with several of the regulars, and it really is a highlight of my day to go to the dog park. I always make a joke that I'm going to just stop bringing the dogs at some point because I think I get more out of it than they do. My local dog park is easy and convenient for me to use, and it's even more convenient because my brother lives in the house that's next door to the park, with his side yard being directly on the other side of the dog park parking lot. The dog park regularly runs out of parking spots, and there are clear signs on the edges of my brother's yard that say, "No parking on the grass. Vehicles will be towed at owner's expense." Well, due to this little family perk, I've taken to just parking on his grass because my brother said I'm more than welcome to, and it keeps a spot open for others who may need it. This will be important later. So about 2 months ago, someone new decided to begin using the dog park with their two chihuahuas, and they immediately broke two rules. First, they didn't leash in the area that is leashed only. Second, they brought their chihuahuas into the big dog area. I politely told this lady that she needed to take her chihuahuas out because they were snapping at several dogs, including my hound dog, who is not real smart. So my hound dog wasn't getting the message, and the chihuahuas were getting really aggressive to the point that one of them tried to bite my dog. She responded by telling me to buzz off. I left and went over to my brother's house and made sure my dog was okay. He was. This continued for several weeks, her dogs in the big dog area, without leashes from the car to the gated area. But I was a little upset that even after calling the county, no one was holding this woman accountable for what she was doing. Finally, I decided to just change my schedule. So I staggered my time of going to the dog park, and I started getting there so I could leave when Chihuahua Lady arrived. She came at the same time every day. I did too. It isn't uncommon for people to have a specific park time, and I was able to avoid most interaction with her. That is, except for the one I was looking forward to. So one morning I had the boys leashed back up on the way out, and as we were walking to my car, there wasn't any parking available. I saw Chihuahua Lady pulling in. She was looking for a spot, and I said to her, "I guess you can park over on that grass once I leave." She says, "I didn't think that was allowed." I said, "Oh yeah, I park there all the time. Just wait for me to pull out and take the spot." She said, "Thanks. Wow, I appreciate it." So I pulled off. I saw her pull in right behind me, and I called my brother, who works from home, and I let him know that somebody had parked on his grass. I asked him to call up the tow company and have them towed, and asked them to come quick. He was a little puzzled as to the reason why the urgency, and I explained the situation and who she was. Well, he calls me back 20 minutes later and says that the car is hooked up to a wrecker and that there is an angry lady screeching at the tow truck driver, telling the driver that she sees people park there all the time. At this point, my brother went outside and explained that the only car that's ever there is his brother's, and that his brother is the only one allowed to park there, and that he saw her pull in this morning when his brother left directly behind him. The lady continued to scream, and the tow truck driver said, "If you pay the unhook fee of $300 and the owner agrees to it, you can just move your car." Well, my brother is a nice guy and figured my plan had gone far enough, so he agreed. The lady had to shell out $300 right there in front of him, and the tow truck driver unhooked her and took off. She looked at my brother and said, "Your brother is a jerk," got her dogs in the car and drove off. And even though that lady still won't change her ways, at least I got to feel a little bit better about the situation. Am I the jerk for being truthful with my friends when telling them why I won't go on a weekend away? I, 27 female, have a group of female friends. There are 8 of us in total. We've been friends for over a decade since school. Now, we don't live in the same place. We meet up a couple of times a year for a weekend in an Airbnb. This used to be a weekend of good food, drinks, hot tubs, etc. I'm content with my life at the moment. I'm single, dating, and I don't know if I would like having kids. But in the event I did, I know I wouldn't want one soon. Around 5 of my friends are either married or in very long-term relationships. Of these 5, 2 either have a baby or are pregnant. I will be seeing all of my friends this year for various weddings, friends, and baby events. I've been invited on this year's girl trip. I've said that I can't come. I didn't originally provide a reason. When asked, in person by my friend who's pregnant, I told her the truth. I'm not going because it's a massive financial expense for 3 days where we only talk about people's upcoming engagements, weddings, and babies. I have a lot going on, but I feel a lot of my friends do not show an interest unless I talk about someone I'm dating. I also, last time, listened to one of my friends talk about her plans to feed her baby naturally for over an hour. She's not pregnant or trying. Truthfully, it's boring and it feels dismissive. It's also a really expensive way to feel bad about myself. I made clear when telling my friend this that I'm thrilled for them all living the lives they want, but maybe it's not the weekend for me at the moment, meaning it feels like the group has two distinct life stages. I'm in the minority and it focuses on one stage. My friend has since told me she's really hurt I'm not excited for her or our other friends. I responded saying I evidently was from other actions, but I just didn't think the trip was for me. I do have numerous other things going on, and to fit this in my calendar is financially a struggle. I just want to add, for this friend specifically, I've gone on 3 weekends away for her wedding, and I'm flying to go to her baby shower. All this in the last 2 years. I have not asked her, nor has she wanted to fly to see me for anything in the last 2 years. So my question is, am I the jerk for being truthful with the reason why I can't go? Update. I do show an interest in their weddings, engagements, babies, and baby plans. I'm excited for them. I text about it. I ask for updates. I go to and help plan events for these things. My issue is 3 days of talking about this like it's the only topic of substance is not fun, especially when I don't feel an interest is reciprocated to me on my life. Also, I've spoken to one of my other friends on the trip, who is also not at the baby stage of life. She's also not going on this trip and said she's not attending for the same reason. The friend I expressed this to has apologized for her initial reaction and is still trying to convince me to come to it. I'm not going to go, but I am hoping she at least considers what I've shared. I do have other friends in the city I live in, and they are a joy to be in the company of. Maybe this is because we became friends as adults and have more similar lifestyles. Who knows? Finally, some comments about me being jealous or unhappy with myself and my life. To confirm, dear strangers on the internet, I am content. Thank you for your concern though. Not the jerk, because the real issue here is different from how it seems. On the surface, this seems like it's about just engagements, weddings, and babies. You go out of your way to be constantly supportive of them. However, they don't reciprocate that for you. They can't relate to anything or want to relate to anything outside of their lives. It would be sort of like if you had won an award, but all they talked about was the pie they just ate that morning. OP. Maybe I spent 13 weekends last year traveling, including transport and hotels, for this group's big events, and I'm happy for them. That said, it's a massive financial outlay I'm expected to attend, and they are not interested in mine. They were all invited to my birthday recently and said they were too busy from work and had plans with their partners to come out to the city for a night, even though accommodation was free. I have the same problem. I'm 48, single, and don't have any kids, and I just cannot relate with people my age. I work a lot, go to the gym, and have a drink now and then with my friends, but I feel you. Whenever I find myself in a situation where it's my age women, it's all about marriage, kids, and school, etc. My ex had the foresight to plan out her devilish revenge on me many months in advance. My ex and I have known each other since we were teenagers and have always been close. We're very different people though, so we never gave our relationship a try. That changed when we were both in our mid-30s and both ended up being single right around the same time, shortly before the winter. Bad timing. Going through a breakup and drinking together while huddling up on the couch for warmth led to more, and we ended up dating. Yes, it was a disaster. 3 years of constant fighting until we finally called it quits. You'd be surprised how effectively you can hurt someone's feelings when you've known their wishes and deepest, darkest secrets for 20 plus years. We were both really hurt by what we said to each other. I did what I do in these situations and went on a small holiday for a few days. Perfect time for her to gather stuff from my house and move out. That's when she did something that would really mess with my head many months in the future. One of my favorite hobbies is doing jigsaw puzzles. It calms me down after work, and I can listen to audiobooks for hours while doing it. And I don't mean some 500-piece puzzle that you can do in an evening. I mean huge puzzles with 15,000 plus pieces. The largest was 42,000. I've got a whole room in my basement with a huge custom-built table just for puzzles. It's great because the puzzles can just stay on the table for weeks and months while I plug away at them, and there's no chance of actually bumping pieces off the table and vacuuming them up. Why is that hobby important? Because she knows how much I enjoy it. She could have just smashed the puzzle I was working on at the time or destroyed the table when she moved out. But no, she simply grabbed a big handful of pieces. Not enough to be noticeable right away, but you're gonna notice when you're getting close to finishing it. Many months later, we still weren't talking all that much. We just needed time to cool off. I kept doing my jigsaw puzzle and got close to finishing it. That's when I started to notice that some pieces were definitely missing. Being the nerd that I am, I complained about it in our friends group chat. I blamed the manufacturer for making a low-quality puzzle. My ex is in that group chat and she saw my messages. Barely 10 minutes went by when she sent that single picture without a comment. It was one of my puzzle pieces with a small note next to it that read €5. The chat was erupting with laughter, cheers, and my frustration. She didn't write anything. A day goes by and another picture appears. This time the piece was laying on a floor in her basement with a €10 next to it. This went on for days. Every day, a new picture and a new location with ever-increasing ransom demands. She put real effort into messing with me. Can you imagine how frustrating it is when every day at the exact same time, you know that's going to be posted in your friend's group chat? You open the app and there it is, your friends laughing at your misfortune. She could have just thrown those pieces away, but she kept them for months just to get to me. Kudos to her, a truly devilish move, and I really respect it. In retrospect, it actually makes me chuckle. We've patched things up since then, and we're back to being really good friends. The missing puzzle pieces were exchanged for a few bottles of wine. Nobody can mess with your head like your friends. Your friends sound like jerks. Why are they going along with this and siding with your ex? Get new friends. They were friends for years before the relationship, and somewhat likely that they were part of the same friend group. It was months later and pretty funny. Did you want these friends to weep in horror, pick sides, and then battle it out at dawn? I expect my friends to be on my side after a breakup, provided I'm not in the wrong. She's in the wrong. He literally said that they were both mean to each other, and she just took a funny revenge that they got over, and now they're good friends again. You can be grown-ups about it and not do the pick a side thing. My brother went through a horrible breakup, but I'm still cool with my brother's ex-wife's brother, and we work out together sometimes. He always asks me to send his regards to my brother and wishes him well. Currently trying to get over a breakup. Sad part is, I wish my ex would do something like this, just so I'd have contact again. I miss her every day. Am I the jerk for giving away my dad and my sister's tickets to my graduation ceremony? I, 18 female, have my high school graduation ceremony this Wednesday. It was sent to my parents in an email that I will be giving a speech that day, as my grades made me valedictorian of my school's class of 2024, and I was excited to do so. My school made us reserve and buy tickets to the ceremony weeks in advance, and I picked mine up on the 26th. The problem started at dinner when I told my family I picked up the tickets for my graduation day and would keep them with me until the day of just to make sure that they don't get lost. My dad told me that he and my sister had plans for an hour before the ceremony, but that my mom would be there the whole time and that they'd try to be there for the after party. I was honestly shocked for a moment before starting to laugh, assuming that he wasn't serious. When I realized they actually weren't joking, I'll admit I was a bit mad. I'm usually a very shy and non-confrontational person, even around my family, but I started yelling at my dad and my sister, asking if they were seriously ditching my graduation ceremony. I told them that the after party was useless to attend and that all the pictures of the graduates with their families would be taken at least 2 hours before the ceremony. They said it's fine and we can take our own pictures one day after my graduation, but I got up and left dinner. Over the weekend, I saw a few people in my class group chat complain that they didn't get enough tickets, so I offered up the 2 tickets I had and met up with a girl from my class to give them to her. And even though I told her not to, she actually paid me the original price for them. When the topic of graduation was brought up by my dad today during lunch, I told him that I gave the other 2 tickets away and only my mom will be attending, so they shouldn't bother with the after party. He got mad and asked why I would do that, to which I replied that I don't see the point in wasting money on tickets if they're not going to use them. My dad blew up on me, saying I'm acting like a spoiled brat, and it's not like it'll be the end of the world if he and my sister are a bit late to my graduation. I spoke to a few people about it, my friends and my grandma. My friends said good riddance, and if they consider their plans more important, they can have fun. But my grandma said that while she understands my side, I shouldn't have given away the tickets just to spite my dad, because maybe he would have changed his mind and gone on time. So I'm looking for a non-biased opinion. Am I the jerk? Thank goodness your mom supports you. Not only your graduation, but also being the valedictorian of your class. Great job. I'm saddened that your father and sister are not celebrating your great accomplishments with you. It just baffles me, and I don't even know you. But I'm excited for you. You did the right thing, not the jerk, but your dad and your sister are. Congratulations on your accomplishments. Am I the jerk for keeping my name change a secret for 5 years? I'm 26 female. My parents decided to name my sister and I after American states. I have permission to share her name, Arizona, and I was called Pennsylvania at birth. Yeah, my parents are weird. I guess they thought geographical names were cool, but I think there's a huge difference between calling your kid Arizona or Dakota or Paris versus Pennsylvania. They're massive American lovers, so maybe they wanted to be patriotic. For as long as I can remember, everyone has called me Pen or Penny. My parents insisted that everyone was to call me by my full name, but most people could see how ridiculous my parents are. My sister, who's 28, didn't struggle as much with her name since Arizona just sounds better than Pennsylvania, and the Grey's Anatomy character Arizona Robbins made the name seem quite cool as we got older. I was mocked and teased as a kid in elementary because of my parents' insistence on my full name. They would literally go off on my teachers for letting me write Penny on my work and books. When I was 21, I got my name legally changed to Penelope. Most people I had met in college had assumed that I had went by Penny as a nickname for Penelope. Even my boyfriend's mother called me Penelope because I was too embarrassed to tell her that Penny was short for Pennsylvania. I kept it a secret from my parents and close family because I knew my parents would go mental and accuse me of disrespecting their choice. I'm getting married this summer to my lovely boyfriend Tom, who's 31, and as you all know, you have to say your full name in your wedding ceremony when doing your vows. I knew I had to fess up about the name change because the alternative would be hoping they kept quiet when they heard me say, I, Penelope, instead of I, Pennsylvania. I invited them over to my home and I tried to tell them in a really calm way that I had changed my name, but they freaked out. They said that I was disrespectful, I was calling their choice dumb, etc. They're refusing to attend the wedding now. I know I'm not the jerk for changing my name, but my parents are particularly upset about how I kept it hidden for 5 years before telling them. Most people I know agree with them. They think that I should have had the courage to be honest with them years ago, so they would have had time to get used to it instead of me dropping the news on them 2 months before my wedding and causing all this drama. A few other family members have dropped out, and my poor sister, who is maid of honor, is having a nightmare with this. My parents believe they had the right to know much earlier. Edit. I know I could ask the priest to say Penny instead of Penelope, but I don't want to hide my real name on my wedding day. Not the jerk. You can change your name if you want, and the name your parents lumbered you with at birth was an excellent reason to do so. From what you've written, I suspect your parents would have blown up whatever, and the 5 years is just a pretense to hang their anger on. 2 months is enough to get used to the idea too. As for boycotting the wedding because of it, they need to get over themselves. That's a big overreaction in my mind. It sounds like your parents need to grow up a bit, to be honest. If you could be named after any state, which one would you choose? Please let us know. I'd go with Indiana, as long as my last name could be Jones. My son, who's 19, filed harassment charges against my husband and I because we were making him go to college. My son and I moved to the US last year. I was a single mom for 16 years before I met and then married my husband. I saved up money so that he can go to college. Where I came from, college is very important. We moved to a small town and my son found new friends. These friends, in my opinion, were not a good influence. I'm used to polite and academically oriented kids back home. These new friends of his make fun of his books and his plans for going to college. Before his high school graduation, my husband and I took him to several unis in the state so he could get a feel for which one he wanted to go to. Then after he graduated from high school, I told him I have about $20,000 saved up for college. He said that won't be enough because tuition is very expensive these days. I suggested he can go to a community college 20 minutes away and live at home to save money. He agreed and I gave him access to the fund, joint account. Long story short, he did not enroll himself and instead started partying a lot and used the money on expensive dates with his girlfriend. He moved out and stopped talking to me. I worked hard to save that up for more than a decade, and I'm upset that he wasted it in less than a year. My husband and I went to his place, and asked that he pays me back since it is specifically for college and not fun money. He called the police and filed harassment charges. I told the police to review the CCTV footage because this whole time I was talking to him through his Ring cam. I was calm and reasonable, and my husband was just standing behind me, not saying anything. I was outside the door talking. He never even opened the door to talk to me face to face. The police said there's nothing he can do if my son and his girlfriend felt harassed. He can file a restraining order if he wants to. Back home, this is unforgivable to treat your parents like this, but here in the US, I was treated almost like a criminal. My sister-in-law said it's my fault for confronting him and that the money is his to spend since I made him a joint account owner. Am I wrong? His relationship with me before moving to the US was fine. He knew my struggle as a single mom, and he always tried to help me around the house. I was not strict at all. He was free to go out with his friends anytime. He was even thrilled to have a father figure, and my husband always tried to make him feel included in everything. The money is gone, and since he was a joint account holder and a legal adult, there's nothing to be done except refuse to help him financially anymore. Let him figure it out on his own from now on. The friends he had will likely drift away now that he no longer has a big bank account to fund their party lifestyle. Lesson learned: never give someone access to money unless you're okay with them running away with it. My boyfriend found out how much money I have and now he wants me to pay off a house for us as well as a new car. I want to make it clear that I've always spent money on my boyfriend, buying him nice things and whatnot. He got his PS4 and his new gaming PC because of me. My boyfriend, however, found out that I have a good amount of money and has started to be quite weird about it. Several times he's referred to my money as our money and using our money to buy him the luxury car he's dreamt of having. He wants us to move out of separate apartments and get a house together and has said instead of getting him a small Christmas gift that I should fund a trip for him to see Europe. I'm from Italy and have family in Bulgaria, Croatia, and the Netherlands, and he's from Canada. About buying the luxury car, it's not a matter of if I can afford it, it's just that it seems like something you'd buy for your husband or your wife and not for your boyfriend of 3 years. The house, I could understand if we were engaged or something, but we aren't. But he has talked about marriage several times in the past few months, and finally, yes, I can afford a trip for both of us to tour Europe. But whereas it's something I might have thought of us to do before, he only brought this up after finding out that I do have the money to pay for it. Is this a reason enough to break up with him? The sad thing is, this is exactly why an old relationship ended. It got serious, an ex-boyfriend found out about my money, started going nuts demanding things. My current boyfriend found out because we went to visit my family in Italy, and my parents, grandparents, and 2 sets of aunts and uncles that we visited all have very large, lavish places. I live in a small apartment that suits my needs, but the difference between my apartment and my home back in Italy was very noticeable. He asked me what was up, and I told him my family is wealthy, but it's not something I try to let define me. The relationship was pretty good until he found out. I would hate to break up with him because I do love him and love being with him, but the way he's been acting, plus past experiences, pretty much tells me that things are just going to go down from here. I was treated very well, I was happy, and yes, he does have a consistent job. I don't always buy expensive gifts. The PS4 and computer are the only 2 things that qualify as expensive. Everything else were little things here and there, a t-shirt or a snow globe, things like that. I don't throw money around. Up until my boyfriend saw my family's homes, he had no clue that I had any kind of money, and my own personal finances that I make isn't something I talk about. I don't go buying cars and all that crazy stuff. People do randomly buy small tokens for their significant others. If this ends, then I'll be single for a while, and any soul searching that happens is for me, not any future relationships or partner. Update, 12 days later. So I didn't automatically dump my boyfriend. I decided I'd have a talk with him. I told him that it was basically really inappropriate to find out that I have money and start making demands. I told him I have no problems using my finances for our relationship, but that he shouldn't automatically expect that I'm going to put out money on very expensive things for him, just because. He seemed very ashamed and agreed that it was a really crappy thing to do, and he got carried away and a bit too excited. I told him I understood, but to do that was very disrespectful to me and the time we've shared together because it made me feel like all of a sudden my money is what mattered. For a little while it seemed like all was well, then the other day we were having a minor argument about something that turned into a bigger argument, and he said something along the lines of, "Well, You don't even want to use what you have for us, so maybe you've never cared about me." He got really quiet, as though he knew that was a crappy thing to say, and we didn't talk for 2 days. I was really angry. I was going to talk things through with him. However, here's what ended our relationship. He told a couple of people we're good friends with, despite me asking him to keep the money quiet, that I was really rich and could afford tons of things. How did I find out? Saturday, we all went out drinking together. He gets a bit too much in his system and orders an expensive bottle of wine. One of our friends was like, "Who orders that crap? We're good with our beer, and that's too expensive." Our other friend piped up and was like, "No, it's good. OP is really rich. She can pick up our tab tonight." Cue several other people who I've never told about my family's money suddenly grilling me on why I never trusted them enough to tell them about my money, and how they thought we were friends, that kind of thing. I broke up with him the next day. He's been blowing up my phone all day, but forget him. I could have moved past what he said the other day when we were arguing, but to tell people I specifically asked him not to, something I trusted him so much with? Yeah, I've lost a 3-year relationship, and I'm probably going to lose a few friends as well. And for everyone asking, the bottle was $460. New lake house friends don't understand boundaries, and it feels like they're now stalking us. My husband and I have a lake home. We've been there almost 4 years. In that time, we've become good friends with a few other households on our corner of the lake. Some of our group is quite outgoing, always meeting new people in our lake community and being welcoming, us included. Everyone's awesome, but one couple has become problematic. Last year, we met Roger and Helene, who have a seasonal cottage on a different part of the lake. They're around weekends. They check in with us and our friend group when in town or stop by unannounced. This is fine. What's hard is that they want to get together all of the time and don't seem to accept it when we tell them we're busy. They get in their boat, drive over to our area, and anchor straight in front of our properties. It makes everyone uncomfortable. They'll stay for an hour plus. If we're working in the yard, they'll repeatedly go by telling us to quit working to join them. Other times, when at the campfire, they'll dock their boat at one of our docks, then join us at the fire without an invitation. They'll also drive or walk over from their place to check up on us, even after being told we're not available. When we're in the boat, they'll drive theirs over and say, "Let's tie up the boats," so we can hang out on the water together. Normally it's fine, except for when we're hosting guests. We've struggled with how to say no. My husband and I would never say, "Let's tie up," to other boaters. We would swing by, say hello, then see if we're invited. If not, we move along. That's protocol, but it's lost on Roger and Helene. Recently, out-of-town friends who have been to the lake a few times declined our invitation to visit, citing that they don't like the visits being interrupted by the neighbors, specifically Roger and Helene. Our core friend group is very respectful about visitors, so we knew who was the issue. The corner of the lake complains about these two all the time and has struggled with how to handle their constant orbiting. Having a visit invitation turned down because of them made me extra annoyed. So 2 weeks ago, we were on our pontoon with friends when Roger and Helene showed up and said, "Let's tie up." We had already told them we were busy via text when they checked in, but apparently they just couldn't resist coming out when they saw us. Being extra annoyed, I finally spoke up. "Sorry, we're good. We're entertaining. We'll have to get together another time." Later, I got an angry text from Helene. She said I was rude and embarrassed them. I texted back saying I was sorry they felt that way, but they needed to respect when we're busy, and that at times my husband and I felt stalked. Haven't heard from them since. A couple of our core friends said I shouldn't have said anything, and that their stalking isn't a big deal because they're nice. This is surprising and upsetting to me. I thought they'd understand why I spoke up, plus I didn't drag any of them into it. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You didn't embarrass them. They embarrassed themselves. And it sounds like your other neighbors feel free to talk behind their backs. All you did was politely enforce a boundary that was being stomped on. Not the jerk. You handled this perfectly, except that you could have done it sooner. They checked in via text. You told them you were busy. They showed up anyways. You told them you were busy. Perfect. That's not mean. That's not rude. They showed up when you specifically told them you weren't available, and then they acted all upset because you repeated, "We are not available." If anything, you might have to set even more specific boundaries with them. Like this. "Hey, if we say we're busy, then that means we aren't free for you to come over. If you do come over, we will send you away." That is a completely normal and healthy boundary to set. Sometimes clueless people need to hear the rules very openly and clearly.